Hi everyone. I hope this isn't breaking any sort of rules, but I figured a way to use someone else's account to get this story out there. Once you read it, I'm sure you'll understand why I want to protect my identity. The only reason I'm even telling you this is because of my sister. Let's call her Faye. Faye was actually the one who filled out the original application for us to be contestants back in 1990. A few weeks after we had mailed them in, we got a response and we were told that we'd get to be on the 4th episode of the current season. I think what I remember the most was how upset my parents were. I'm not going on some stupid game show where I get covered in slime or have to act like an idiot just to win money, my dad had said. The letter had said that we had a certain time to respond to become contestants, and of course, Faye and I used every opportunity we had to bug mom and dad about letting us go. Finally, our persistence had paid off and Dad made the call to get us a flight down to Orlando. Per the show guidelines, we were told that we would be accommodated for our hotel stay and flight back. But honestly, all that I cared about was getting the chance to be on one of the most popular game shows of all time. We were told to arrive at the filming studio really early in the morning. I think it was about half an hour past 3. I could hardly see anything and it was raining gently. Dad was ready to tell the driver to turn around and go back to the hotel when we arrived at the back lot of Nickelodeon Studios. The place was bigger than I had ever imagined it could be, like twice the size of a football field. It was so dark that I could hardly make out any of the signs, and we had to rely on the driver to make our way inside where the crew was getting everything set up. I thought these shows were filmed live. My mom had asked as we got to the dressing rooms where we were quickly asked what our sizes would be for the show team's uniforms. "Oh, you will be. Why do you think we got you here so early?" One of the makeup artists asked as she got a tape measure and had me stretch on my arms to get a fitting. They were all rushing around in the dressing room, moving to the stage area to get the lighting and equipment set up that it was somewhat disorienting. Before I knew it, almost 2 hours had passed. The episode hadn't even started filming yet and I was already exhausted. "You girls need some breakfast?" A friendly cameraman asked as he walked around passing the crew some donuts. "When do we get this show on the road?" Dad asked, grabbing a donut off the plate. The producer or the director, I'm honestly not sure which, paused a moment later to answer his cell phone and walked away looking rather upset. A minute later he came back and he muttered, "Well folks, I've got some bad news. Mark is sick today, so we're gonna have to reschedule this for tomorrow." "Oh, like hell we are," my dad said angrily. "Honey, language," Mom said defensively. Dad wasn't listening to her though. He was storming around towards the producer, wagging his finger. "We got up at the crack of dawn to be on this show so our kids could have a little bit of fun. I took off work to come down here to the studio. We can't afford to stay an extra day, so we're gonna film it today." Faye was giggling about the fact that Dad was using bad language. The producer didn't seem so amused though. But the other family we were competing with had already arrived and a consensus was made that they had to at least try to get something filmed. "I mean, we've already got the set mostly ready," one cameraman pointed out. Another coordinator was asking whether or not to refund parking tickets for the audience when finally the producer caved and let us get ready for the show to start. Up to this point, I had been bursting with excitement for being on live television. And then the lights, camera, action moment came and I found myself frozen. The curtains rose and over 300 kids and parents were staring at us as we walked out onto the stage. Mom pushed me encouragingly as the crowd shouted, and we heard the ever-familiar John Harvey announce that it was time for Double Dare. The cameraman adjusted his view towards the backstage as the announcer said, "Alrighty folks, we're gonna really flip your wig today with a special guest host." The studio went wild as our substitute came into view. He was dressed for the part, I remember that clearly, wearing weird rainbow overalls and a large brown trench coat that went down to his cowboy boots. He wore clown makeup on half his face and what looked like eyeshadow on his right. Just a mixed match of clothes and poofy hair designed to make the audience confused and distracted about Mark's absence. At least that's what we assumed at first. The new host made a strange laugh as he got towards the center of the stage and started bowing repeatedly towards all of them. "Well, hello guys and gals, I think we're ready to play some Double Dare," the clown said as he honked his red nose and then pulled out a few trivia cards. "Now, the way this game works is that we have our teams go head to head with questions that get increasingly harder in difficulty, and as it turns out, lets them win more money. To start the first round, we're gonna have something wild happen and start with a physical challenge. Come on kids, let's get you down here. Suddenly, a long rope slid down from the ceiling and Faye and a boy from the other family were chosen. And they came forward to the rope, which reminded me of the presidential challenge we did last year in 3rd grade. Now, here on Double Dare we never make things easy. So this isn't going to be your ordinary rope climb. First one to the top is still going to win. But you never know what might come down on top of you. Are you ready? The host asked. The audience started shouting a countdown as Faye grabbed a hold of the rope and gave me the thumbs up. 3 seconds later, a loud buzz rang across the stage as I watched my sister climb as quick as possible. Above her, I saw the ceiling open a little and the crowd cheered as the ever-familiar green slime slid down on top of her and her competitor. It didn't take long for my sister to fall on her butt back to the bottom. The other boy did the same and the audience laughed as the clown encouraged them to climb again. The slime was pouring down on top of him as they struggled to get to the top of the rope. And then out of nowhere, the rope Faye was climbing on snapped and she plummeted to the stage floor. The sound she made when she hit the floor was enough to make everybody in the audience grow quiet. My dad stood up and he looked towards the host in confusion and then towards his little girl. Well, I think that determines our winner. Let's get round 1 started. The new host announced nervously. Faye didn't move. I was getting scared now. My sister just lay there on the stage floor, like a doll that had been tossed out from a toy box. One of the cameramen asked her if they should go to commercial. She's fine, she's fine, the host said as he scrambled over to where Faye was at and helped her up. She didn't even move. It was like she was unconscious or even worse. The clown put her next to me on her stool and my sister slumped over, clearly not responding to any attempt to wake her up. We need to stop now, my mom said as she got up and checked Faye's pulse. Our first trivia question is, in the United States, how many states start with the letter W? The host said, pretending that he didn't hear them. The cameramen were clearly confused on what to do. A producer from backstage motioned for them to keep filming as my dad balled up his fist. Stop the show, he ordered. Are you wanting to dare the other team? And the clown asked. And then Dad walked right up to him and punched him in the jaw. The host fell back and hit his head on the stage set, causing a large portion of the flimsy material to fall down. The audience screamed and giggled in excitement as the producer ran out on the stage to try to calm the situation down. But instead, as soon as he had gotten to the slime, he slipped and he fell backwards, cracking his skull against the stage floor like an egg. Then I watched in shock as blood started to pool out of the side of his head and Mom tried to cover my eyes. The camera shut off 2 minutes after that. Paramedics arrived minutes later to attend to Faye and the host, and quickly determined that my sister was in fact still alive. They rushed her to the hospital where they found out that she had suffered severe brain trauma. According to the report, she would have to be placed in a medically induced coma for her body to completely heal. Nickelodeon executives agreed to pay for everything that she needed, on one condition of course. And you guessed it. Dad and Mom had to sign some ridiculous non-disclosure agreement that they would never sue the show for the mishap. They offered us $100,000 as well to keep us quiet and Dad couldn't say no. Getting Faye back home was a chore of itself. Since she had to remain on life support, the executives rented her a private jet. I kept up my part of the deal too and didn't say a word about any of this to anyone. Until now, that is. I've tried to be a good daughter and forget what had happened. But the experience caused my parents to divorce, and ultimately led to my dad committing suicide a few years back. I never left my sister's side, vowing to be there until she woke up. That never happened though, and earlier this month she passed away in death. I decided to call the Nickelodeon crew after what had happened and thank them again for everything that they did for my sister all these years. A woman answered the line and a few minutes later, I told her who I was and why I was calling. Hold on, repeat that. This happened when? 1990. It was probably the early part of the year. I told her. There was a short, almost uncomfortable pause. We didn't start shooting episodes until that September.